Hey everybody, in today's video, I will be walking through a short position with live entries and exits from the Alpha Chasers community live stream and a put position that we did. I'll be going through the exact entries and exits and showing the actual live trades. We'll be able to review exactly why we bought stock versus options and then options versus stock. And then we will also be able to go over the exact entries and then look at the expectations of what the trade looks like versus the reality. As you can see, it's streamed live. This is a live trade that we did in the community. I don't think it matters the amount of the P&L. I don't think it matters if you're doing 100 shares or you're doing 100,000 shares. It's completely irrelevant. The trade's the trade. And if you could comment on that, I would appreciate it. I'm focused on the ROI and I'm focused on the realized R multiple. The amount that you make on the trade is completely irrelevant. It's all about the process. In this example, it's a short position that we put on this break. Now let's walk through it. Trade starts and we start with this gap up. It's already trying to convince you that we're going higher. So we're watching that. We know the news. We're aware of what's going on with SBNMY. We were looking at this early on in the morning for a short position. Now you're watching those wicks kick in. So as soon as you start seeing those wicks, your antenna starts going up, and you'll see this in the live call. But as soon as you see that, now you get that little wonky bar down, right? We're going to stop here for a moment. You see how you have 1, 2, 3, and now you're starting to develop that reversal bar right there. A couple things to note. These wicks, you want to note these two wicks. See how they are nowhere near up even half of the bar? That is bearish. Even though they're green, the fact that you are not closing near the highs or even 50% up, that is bearish, and that lets you know that every time it's getting up here, that we are getting resistance. We are getting supply. We are not getting demand. We are getting supply, and that's what this is showing you. Supply and demand does not have to be support and resistance. It could just be looking at a bar and understanding how to read it. Now let's watch what happens. Now we get this downward move right here, that break, and that becomes our short, as you're going to see in the live call right there. That becomes the break. Now you can see that little red arrow that denotes the time in sales of the trade, and now the trade just starts playing itself out. You can see that break right here, and then you can see that you have a hammer bar right here. So if that hammer flips, you might want to start scaling out of your position. That's going to be a concern of mine, but we get a 3-bar pattern, which I go over. I actually have a video on it. And then you break down again. When that provided a second entry, as you're about to see here when we go over the actual live call, they halt us. That is the first halt, and it matters. Each halt matters. Rule of thumb, by the third halt, you usually bounce. They usually get the balance. There's usually an imbalance, and by the third halt, they usually get it right. You're open and you're gapping down. So you open immediately, you don't get any relief whatsoever. So that lets you know right there that you're going to have some more selling coming in. Because usually when it's halted, you get that level of panic of people that at least makes it go up for a little bit. You receive none of that. Halted again, second halt. So now you're in a position where you've been halted twice within 2 minutes. That's a pretty glaring sign, and that means that there's a major imbalance. So what the market makers will do is they will take that imbalance and they're going to actually get it to a level where they know that they're going to be able to get out of that imbalance. That's why you always have to watch the third halt. The third halt, the one that usually bounces. Now, we're going to stop here for a second. First halt, this move down let me know that there was way more selling pressure than maybe even the market makers knew. Then you're coming across. Again, what are we dealing with? This is supply. Get me out. Get me out. There's no demand yet. If you're looking from when we cracked here, there has been no demand. You're sitting right in here. And as soon as this happens, I know the next move that's going to happen is going to be a third gap down. If I know it's going to be a third gap down, and I know that historically those third gap downs can lead to a push. So what I want to do is I want to sell the majority into this bar, and I sell a chunk right into that bar. It's halted again. Now we're going to stop here for a second. It was our third halt. We reversed. Right on that third halt, you reversed. And I want to show you the difference here. See the difference in timing for how long these halts took? You want to pay attention to that. So what happens? They just gap us down. Here, you might be thinking, you shouldn't have sold. How do I know that this bar is the one that's going to be next? I have no idea what this is going to be. No one does. Your goal as a trader is to manage the trade. And that's exactly what we're doing here. We're just very simply managing the trade. They halt us to the upside. 1, 2, 3, and now a halt to the upside. VWAP. And you can see here how that VWAP, how we closed, and then we gapped over that VWAP. That's probably a sign that we're going to continue to push higher. Rest of my trade, because I'm trying to stay in this in case this gets as ugly as I think it could get, is back to break even. I'm not in a hurry to get out of the rest of it. I locked something in. And the way that I trade is I want to have some position. And that position that I leave on is usually a third to 20, 25%. And I refer to it as a runner. And the reason that I do that in case this gets exceptionally worse. In this case, that's not what happened at all. This is where I entered and this is where I get stopped out. Runner, I gapped. So I actually lost money on the runner. This is actually TradeZella. It's actually a really good service for trade journaling. I have no affiliation with it. It's definitely a service that if I'm coaching somebody, I have them use, or I prefer them to use. I would suggest everybody journal. Definitely been extremely helpful to me. SBNY, you can see where we entered the short. You can see where we get out of the majority of the short, and then you can see how I lose money on the other portion. And that's just how I trade. Everybody trades differently. Got a little spot for notes here. Covered the majority second halt, 3 halts in 6 minutes, just making notes for myself to review. Forget about the P&L. Forget about the size. What you want to focus on is how much money did I make off of invested capital and how much did I risk? So in other words, when I entered this trade right here, what I have is I have a hammer bar sitting right here. So the top of that hammer becomes my trade. I don't want to put myself in a position that I'm over that hammer bar. That's how that is quantified. And that allows me to determine the realized multiple that we made on the chart. Now let's watch this play out real time. SBNY, you're already down $13. You got to be real careful about just like shorting these right off the rip. You're going to want these to rally a little bit. JP Morgan's obviously coming in a little harder, but there might be a trade there, guys. So we're going to watch that. You're already seeing it. They're already going after SBNY. They're not giving that any breathing room at all. Let's watch that second bar on SBNY and see how that acts. SBNY, you're trying to lift, but this is a really deadly pattern. See how you're having these wicks up? This is a matter of time. That's probably going to crack, guys. That's probably going to get worse, not better. Everyone's going to go look for the next one. They're going to pile in here. They're going to pile in there. March 17th. Now look at these 75s already, 950. That's going to crack, guys. Let's see what's going on here. I don't know that that's going to make it. Put the VWAP in, see what the heck's going on. That's not going to make it. That's going to roll here. It really looks like it's going to roll. Look, yeah, you're going to roll. You're definitely going to roll. You can short it. That's going to roll. March. Spreads on these are insane, guys, to do the options that it makes sense, but that's broken. That's probably going to keep dropping. This was the trigger. Let me show you it right there. And I don't think there's going to be any quarter here given whatsoever for this name. I really don't. I do have a short position in this. I don't see how this can hold. I really don't. I think they're going to go after it. This is the next one. We're going to go after that one. I think that's what we're seeing. Let's see how this plays out here. So this is your trigger. The options to me don't make any sense whatsoever. You know, they were 950 with a huge spread up here, and the stock just dropped $3 and the options went hardly anything. And now the bid's 10. So it doesn't really seem like it's a good risk versus reward. There's a 3-bar pattern. So if you're not in, right, and you break that to the downside, you could use this as your stop. But you need it to break emphatically, and that's another way to get in. And this is just going to get ugly. This will be the one. This will be the one today. SBNY. I'm short. I'm just staying short, doing nothing with it, leaving it alone. Two, and now those options are 13 by 11. That's what I'm saying. They can drive a truck through that bid, and up. Now we're halted. I'm up about $4 in it already. All right, so I've done one trade. That's really it, guys. NY. When this opens, if you're uncomfortable holding something that's going to keep gapping down all day, just close it when they open it up. I have no interest in that. So what they're doing, see these wicks? So we know wicks are price rejection. And then the second thing I did was drop in the anchored VWAP. And you could see how you were unable to get above that VWAP. And then you made that lower low. That was it. There's your entry. And then it's like right there. Pretty glaring. 61. You're going to bounce here eventually, guys. I'm going to pull something out of this. I'm just pull something out right now because you're going to bounce. All right, there it is. Third halt, right? So 10 points. I'm out of the majority of that trade. The SBNY just got out of the way. From here to here in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and in 3 halt, you got to start taking something out. You start seeing this can absolutely break down again, but the majority of it, I got out in this bar. I'll hold the rest and see if I can go to that break even. If not, I just have this free trade. And now I'm just going to watch these next couple bars develop. Should I start getting through some of these levels? Just get out of the way on the rest of it, right? That's pretty clear right here, guys. Watch. That's a reversal bar. You can see that, right? And that's our third gap. And we always talk about those third gaps. But what's crazy about that is they're usually not 6 minutes apart. SBNY, fourth halt, halted to the upside. Got to get out when they're getting good. They're gapping you up now. Let's stay out of the way now, guys. You know, don't have a great trade turn into rage trade. And this is kind of the point that I was getting at this morning. SBNY looks like that party's over. Now you're back to the highs right up here. I don't know that you're in the same boat though, because you have a bunch of people that are short now. So this is a really good time to clean up this chart and then drop in. This is a really good time to use volume profile. So this is exactly what you want to say. So you see how your bars down here are more yellow than blue. So this is when everybody started shorting. This is when we shorted. Okay. See the difference? This is when you see how they're all yellow over here, how they're more yellow than blue. That's when we started shorting. First sign of weakness. And then you can see how the volume changed. You can see the whole volume line up here. This is where the majority of people are short. If I know where the majority of people are short and they're watching this and we know what they're doing right now, right? They're hoping it doesn't break through. We all know how that's going to go. You see how the buying's kicking in? See how that buying move? See the buying in that bar? See the buying in that bar? Probably it's going to push through there and just to cause people some aggravation. Let's see. We'll see how that plays out. We'll come back to it. In your comments, I got asked a lot to show live trades. There is part 2 of this trade. Part 2 is the put that we bought when we gap filled. And I have the footage and timestamps of that as well. If you're interested in seeing the option trade, please comment on this video and I'm more than happy to put this together. I'm really interested in feedback on this kind of video. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to contrast between looking at the chart and saying, oh, you buy it here and then it flips and then we come back, versus what it's really like in my head when I'm trading and what I'm really looking at and how I'm really acting. And again, like I said earlier, if it flipped this level, I'm getting out of the way. I'm cutting it. I think it's really important for you to look at the actual footage on what the trade looked like as it unfolded, as we profited from the trade. And then also you can then overlay that with what actually transpired. A couple things. Number one, the amount that you make or lose on a trade is completely irrelevant. It doesn't matter. What matters is your process. Once you get your process down and become consistent, everything in life gets a lot easier. It took me a long time to get to what you just heard on that live feed. Okay, that's 20 years. It's a process. It's a learning process. You'll see this on Twitter, or you'll see this on YouTube, and they're pointing at charts and they're making it sound so simple, and all you have to do is learn where the support and resistance are. Okay, a surgeon does not learn to be a surgeon in a day. You don't take a class and become a surgeon. Yes, I'm going on a rant. What you need to be focused on is getting better every single day. There is nothing that you have gone through that I have not gone through in order to get and master what I consider master this craft. I hope this was helpful. If you want to see the option video, please comment on it. But I felt the need to do one of these because I keep getting asked to do one. If you're struggling with day trading, watch this video at the end. I walk through a very simple process on a 1 minute and a 5 minute chart that you can put to work immediately.